Hello, and welcome to the fourth and final installment in this video series on vocabulary instruction. Throughout this series, we've explored different ways to teach vocabulary that could be implemented in our classrooms. Today, we'll focus on thinking like a writer to expand ideas and images by refining word choice, developing comparisons, and relationships. In our previous videos, we've seen explicit vocabulary instruction as students created metaphors exploring the similarities and connections between words at a figurative, abstract, or literal level, as well as analogies describing relationships between two items or concepts. In this video, we'll work to connect the vocabulary study we do as readers to the wordplay we might engage in as writers. To do this, we'll closely study an excerpt from an informational mentor text looking for the comparisons the author crafts, deliberately asking, how might these narrative structures and techniques be used in informational writing? Let's take a close look at this excerpt from the article, This is How You Get Ebola, as Explained by Science by Ruth Tam, and study the craft moves the author makes. More specifically, let's look for the comparisons and relationships the author uses to illustrate complex or abstract ideas. Immediately, in the first sentence of the first paragraph, I notice that the author uses an expert quote that compares the glycoproteins to giant oak trees with branches and leaves. And then I notice that this comparison frames the details that are used throughout this paragraph to further develop the relationship. For example, in the last sentence of this paragraph, I notice the phrase, slicing off its leaves and branches and exposing the trunk, is used to describe how the host cell pulls in the attachment protein. This comparison illustrates how the Ebola virus spreads and helps me connect an unfamiliar or abstract process to a concrete image. Take a moment to closely study the next paragraph. What comparisons do you notice? How are these relationships further developed in this paragraph? Now that we've closely studied the craft moves in an informational mentor text, looking for comparisons and how narrative structures and techniques might be used in this kind of writing, let's give this craft move a try in our writing, developing one of our writing territories. For example, one of the most memorable memories I have from my childhood is learning to water ski. I can picture the setting: Alcova Lake, the cove southwest of Fremont Canyon, and north of Red Bluff Beach. Perfect midsummer day, temperature in the low 90s, slight breeze from the north. I can also see the characters: me, 10 years old, 4 feet 8 inches tall, approximately 90 pounds, life jacket and skis on, rope handle tightly grasped, knees tucked and ready to go. Dad, experienced captain, water skier and water skiing instructor, taught my 4 older siblings and countless cousins and friends. Carrie D., my sister, 12 years old, intermediate skier and spotter responsible for raising the skier down flag. And I can describe the action, but I wonder what this might look and sound like if I used a comparison to frame and develop a particular sequence of events. To help me do this, I'm going to start by imitating the first sentence of our mentor text. Imagine Ebola's glycoproteins as giant oak trees with branches and leaves. So I'm remembering this day, the day I learned to water ski, and I'm thinking about the comparisons I might craft. I was up on my first attempt, and I celebrated by raising my arms mindlessly, letting go of the rope. Imagine a water skier as a world champion boxer, raising his arms, declaring his victory. Then, imagine a water skier as a world champion boxer, hanging his head in defeat. My second attempt began and ended in a more dramatic way. Imagine a water skier as a flat rock skipping across the surface of the lake. Or imagine a water skier as a boulder tumbling down the hillside, breaking apart with every twist and turn. I've got some interesting comparisons, but I think I like the boulder tumbling down the hillside best. I'm going to try to use this image to frame my thinking. While I write and think out loud, look and listen to the writing work I'm doing to develop this scene and its sequence of events so that you can try this craft move in your writing, developing one of your writing territories. Thinking about this comparison, I want to try to capture the action of a boulder tumbling down, but I also want to capture the actions that show my second attempt to water ski. I remember gripping the rope, refusing to let go, my ski catching the edge of the water, the binding being ripped from my foot, and the ski flying behind the wake of the boat. I remember fighting to find my balance, but my arms being pulled forward and my chest down, kicking my legs out from underneath me. And I remember my sister yelling, "Let go! Let go of the rope!" As I reread my writing, I'm seeing that I'm capturing the action. But I'm also realizing that I want to continue to work on adding specific details to further develop the comparison of a skier to a boulder tumbling down a hillside. Reflecting on this mini lesson, we see some specific moves teachers might make to prompt student actions. Through these intentional teacher moves, students can be gradually released so they might be empowered to connect the vocabulary study we do as readers to the wordplay we might engage in as writers. In this video series, we highlighted implicit and explicit vocabulary instruction through wordplay with metaphor and analogy. Other instructional stances you might want to learn more about are identifying similarities and differences, comparing and contrasting terms, classifying terms or concepts, and examining affixes and root words. In addition, you might continue connecting vocabulary instruction to deepening students' reading comprehension as well as the development of their writing skills and strategies. For more information about these stances, you might reference Vocabulary for the Common Core by Robert Marzano and Julia Sims. Thank you for joining the fourth and final installment of this video series, exploring best practices for teaching vocabulary.